The Newton Teachers Association held a rally before the school committee meeting on Monday night. Hundreds walked down Walnut Street from Newton North High School to the Ed Center, where they gathered to let the public know that the teachers' contract negotiations are not going as hoped.
Hundreds of Newton Teachers Association members and supporters walked from Newton North High School to the Ed Center and rallied on the front lawn to continue to fight for a fair contract.
Will you all come together to fight for ESP living wages? For real parental leave that starts to approach what the rest of the civilized world has? For mental health supports for your students? And just fair compensation for every single person here.
Newton's teachers have been without a contract since September 1st and have been in negotiations with the city for over a year to get a new one in place.
Kathy Smith, our interim superintendent last year, stated during negotiations that Newton Public Schools is a premier school system. She's right, and all of you are the reason Kathy Smith is able to call Newton Public Schools a premier school system. So I've written Mayor Fuller a letter with this in mind that I'd like to share with you. Dear Mayor Fuller, it is time to fund the Newton Public Schools so the educators who make this a premier school system can afford to live here. It is time to fund the Newton Public Schools so no NPS educator in any unit, particularly Unit C, has to work another job to pay for their living expenses. Mayor Fuller, it is time to fund the Newton Public Schools so its educators can keep up with the cost of living. Mayor Fuller, it is time to fund the Newton Public Schools as if your own children were attending. Premier status deserves premier pay.
After the rally, NTA members entered the Ed Center and spoke in front of the school committee. Once the public hearing was done, negotiations co-chair Kathy Shields laid out an overview of the current negotiations process.
The first 2 pages relate to 2 of the larger units within the NTA. So as we've talked about before, the NTA has 5 different units. Unit A are largely classroom teachers. Unit C are largely our paraprofessionals, our teaching assistants, our behavior therapists, and others. So this first page relates or focuses mostly on our Unit A employees, basically our classroom teachers. And it explains that the components of those employees' salaries sort of break down into 3 categories. They break down into steps, which are based on years of experience, lanes, which are based on levels of educational achievement, and a COLA, which is an annual increase. So in terms of steps, most of our Unit A members step once a year. The average step increase for those Unit A members who are getting step increases is about 4.2%. And about half of our Unit A members receive those step increases. There are 14 steps, which means it takes about 14 years to progress through that stage. For lanes changes are for staff members who attain additional educational experience. So either an additional degree or additional graduate credits. And the average increase for changing lanes is over 5%. In addition, there are COLAs, which are cost of living increases that are on top of both step and lanes. So in this current fiscal year, for employees who are stepping, in other words, getting those 4.2% step increases, they are additionally getting a COLA of 2.625%. For employees on the top step, they got a COLA of 3% in this fiscal year. So once you have finished the 14-year stepping part of the contract, educators who stay with us longer than that are eligible for what are called longevity payments according to the contract. And we've broken down for you the longevity payments that each of those educators receive, and they receive those every year. And so for years beyond year 20, that is in general for most educators more than an additional 1% of what their salary would be. So if you go to page 2, this data is similar, but relates to Unit C. who are our paraprofessionals, our education support professionals. And those Unit C members break down into two categories. So there are Category 1 Unit C members who are primarily teaching assistants. They are people who help in the classroom, who are general building assistants. And then there are Category 2 positions, generally those who have some sort of additional qualifications, licensure, certifications, et cetera, such as our medical assistants, our behavior therapists, and our SEL assistants. Like our Unit A members, there are three components of Unit C members' salary. There's their hourly rate, there are step increases for years of service, and there's a COLA. So the hourly rate for Unit C employees, so Unit C employees are hourly workers under state law, and they're paid an hourly wage based on the number of hours they work per week. And the number of hours that Unit C members work per week vary by level because the time of our school day at each level differs. So in general, there is a different number of hours that we need from most Unit C employees, whether they work in elementary school, middle school, or high school. So in addition to the actual school day hours, Unit C members, or most Unit C members, are paid for some time both before and after school, and some time to participate in professional development activities. With respect to stepping Unit C members, those who are getting step increases, the average step increase for Unit C members is higher than for Unit A members. So the average step increase is about 6.2%. And there are fewer steps generally in the Unit C salary scale. Depending on what category you're in, it's either 12 steps or 9 steps. The COLAs for fiscal year 23, our current fiscal year, were the same for Unit A and Unit C members. And Unit C members, like Unit A members, are entitled to longevity payments once they are no longer receiving those annual step increases. And that is that we are working within a fiscal reality. We are working within the reality that we are expecting a 3.5% increase in our allocation over the next 3 years. And to do that, that means that the cost increases that we expect to have available to us over the next 3 years is about $21 million. It's important to contrast that to the overall proposals requested by the NTA, which would cost nearly double the money that the school district has available to it. Those NTA requests come in price tag wise at about $57 million and would require an annual increase in the NPS budget of 6% as opposed to about 3.5%. And we've provided you with some details on the individual cost breakdowns of some of the various NTA proposals.
Mayor Fuller also spoke in favor of Newton's public schools and trying to find the funding to help.
I believe in the Newton Public Schools. I believe the most important service that we provide as a city government is the Newton Public Schools. A week ago, I'm disappointed that I couldn't convince the city council to boost on a sustainable method the funding for NPS for the coming years. I would encourage the superintendent, her team, the school committee to keep articulating all the reasons why this is a time of challenge for our students, and our teachers are the heart and soul of our schools. It makes complete sense that they're essentially 90% of the budget. We have to support our teachers at this time. And so anything that we can bring forward to our fellow elected officials in the city council in a sustainable, predictable way to support ongoing operations. It is great to use one-time funds for one-time needs. And yep, we got a whole bunch of one-time needs, but I would say even more important are ongoing operations and transforming one-time funds into ongoing support. There is a way to do it. I'm open for other ways of doing it. I'm open to any and all ideas for how to support this fabulous school system.
But during the rally, Allison Lobron of the Parent Education Collaborative stated otherwise.
You have underfunded Newton Public Schools year after year. As staff have been cut every year, the people who remain have forced to take on more and more responsibilities. Classrooms are understaffed and overcrowded. Teachers' jobs, which were already demanding, have become unmanageable. And why? We have $55 million sitting in the bank. By giving just a small portion of that money to the schools, many of the acute needs would be alleviated. And we'd be able to give the NTA a fair contract. Instead, what did you do? You proposed to lock the money up in a trust fund and start dispersing small amounts beginning next year. Nothing for this year. On behalf of all the parents and community members here, we want to communicate to you unequivocally. Those are our tax dollars. We don't want our money sitting in a trust fund. We want you to use it to pay our teachers. We don't want our tax money sitting in the bank while our Unit C staff aren't earning enough to pay for their most basic needs.
Negotiations are ongoing, and both sides are looking to make it work.
Keep turning out. This is not the end. This is the beginning. We're going to need you to keep turning out, and we will win.
Jen Adams, Newton News, Newtonville.